La la la, hey, hey, yeah, yeah.
Welcome back to the show. Well, there is an evolution in Ottawa's charitable sector, and it's all thanks to a great new centre called the C3 Centre. And we're joined by Keenan Wellar from LiveWorkPlay, the co-founder and CEO. Great to have you here. Welcome to the show. And just reading it back, you had written a fantastic blog a while back that I had the chance of reading. And you said in the blog that, the recession sort of gave you a bit of a kick in the pants. And that forced you to sort of look around and make some changes. Talk a little bit about that, like when it hit you, and what struck you?
It was actually more the experience of other charities and colleagues that I knew at those charities who found that their main funder had made some big changes as a result of the recession, whether it was government or maybe a private sector sponsor, and they were experiencing pressures and they passed those pressures down to the charity, and just realizing there's a couple of things we got to think about. One is how do we diversify so that the services to the people that we support aren't threatened, and then secondly, how do we become even more efficient? I think we're doing a pretty good job, but we've come up with some new and better ways. So.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of competition. We were talking about it a little bit earlier for people's dollars, but I think you're looking even outside of dollars. This is more about a social change for you.
Yes.
Explain what you mean by that.
Well, we support people with intellectual disabilities, and we want them to have an included life in the community. It does cost money to support those changes, but really it's about the other people in the community that will make that change happen through acceptance and change of attitude. So engaging other people and volunteerism is huge. We're over 100 volunteers now for an organization with a staff of 8. So that is a whole new dynamic, and those volunteers bring all kinds of capacity that dollars don't. That's an extreme value for us. So we're looking at things a bit differently. It's not always about asking for dollars. It's also time and connections. People's connections are extremely valuable to us.
Connections and partnerships. And partnerships is a big thing about C3. The C3 Centre, you've got your grand opening tomorrow. Tell us about the centre and who's involved.
Sure. Well, it wasn't spearheaded. We're a relatively new partner. But it includes Volunteer Ottawa, United Way Ottawa, Leadership Ottawa, Ottawa Chamber of Volunteer Organizations, among others. And basically they came together and said, we're all in the capacity building business, but we all have these different spaces around the city, and we're paying rents and leases and things. And how could we kind of resolve that issue and be more efficient, but also how could we put our brains together on a daily basis and work collaboratively? And that's a perfect, exciting fit for us. So.
Yeah, so now that you're all in the same building, how are you working as a collective?
Great example. Leadership Ottawa, they do a course to support people to develop their leadership skills. They approached us and said, is there someone that you support with an intellectual disability who has leadership interests? We would like to have as diverse a class of people in this upcoming course. And I had been thinking exactly the same thing and not sure how they would feel about it.
Right.
And they just walked up and asked me. And so they're in touch, and now this Jennifer is going to be taking this course with 37 other people in Ottawa. It's perfect.
It's really unbelievable. What do you think about, as far as the biggest challenge goes for a nonprofit agency? Economics aside, I think we all know that. But what are some of those other challenges that you've had to face?
I think it's mission focus. Not to drift from your mission, because sometimes the funding is pushing you in one direction because of the funder's expectations, and maybe that's philosophically not where you think you should be going. And how do you work with that funder, be respectful of the people you support, and at the same time get going in the right direction? I think that's a challenge for every charity, is how do we stay on track and keep everybody happy and doing the right thing.
Yeah, and in the blog that I read, I really appreciated your honesty, because you had written quite a while ago, if I remember, it was like 2002, you'd mentioned something in the Ottawa Citizen talking about the United Way, and not in glowing terms, but you've since changed that. What changed for the United Way that changed your mind about the organization?
It's just what my last comment was. They are so outcomes oriented now. It's all focused on, what do we do that changes the community and makes it better? And that's so good for everybody. It's good for everyone that donates to United Way, because it's becoming easy. As a donor myself, it's becoming easier and easier to see where that's going and how it's impacting on people. It's not about an agency getting money for their budget.
Right.
If we get money from United Way, that's not what I want it to be about. I want it to be about the change that we produce through that support.
So now I guess agencies are having to show what they're using the money for? Is that the idea, or show that they've got a new approach?
I think the focus is more on impact. I mean, you always had to show where the money was going and the expenses and all that sort of accountability, but now it's more an accountability of United Way is really clear about their priorities, and then you have to be really clear about how you're going to meet that demand.
Right. With the C3 Center now and everybody being together, is this sort of a one-stop resource now for even people in the community? Like, how can people in the community take advantage of this new center?
Right. Well, one example, it has a training facility. So the different agencies, a lot of whom are engaged with volunteers, will be offering trainings. So it'll be, instead of 7 different spots or 8 around the city, come to the C3 for all these different agencies that offer these trainings. So it'll be the same place. And we'll probably be getting together to offer trainings that are superior to if we were working in isolation.
Well, you've got a great team of volunteers, but I imagine you're always looking for new volunteers. What sort of opportunities do you have at LiveWorkPlay?
Oh, wow. Just about, if you have an interest, especially like any kind of hobby that you're really passionate about, one of the most exciting things we're doing is just matching people in the community up with someone that we support who also has a passion for that same hobby. We've got everything from people joining billiard leagues together, going to art classes, photography, hiking, just about anything you can imagine. And it's all interest-based. So it's not you having to do something you're not comfortable with. Just come and tell us, hey, I'd like to volunteer. This is what I like. Is there someone that you support that likes that too?
Big grand opening happening tomorrow.
Yes.
The public is invited,
Yes.
I imagine. Whereabouts are you located? How can people get in touch with you?
It's 1155 Lola, which is behind the United Way headquarters, which is just across from the baseball stadium, if you know where that is. And the grand opening ceremony is at 4, but it's open from 1 until 8 p.m.
Terrific. Well, thanks so much for being here, and congratulations. Great partnership, Keenan. Always
Thanks a lot.
pleasure having you on the show. Again, that is 1155 Lola Street, the big grand opening happening tomorrow. Don't go away. We'll be right back right after the break.